Hey everybody, it's Patrick
And Sarah.
from the board Meeples, and today we're going to do a review of parks. As always, don't forget to subscribe for other how-tos, reviews, and unboxing videos.
And playthroughs.
That's right. Parks is a game by Keymaster Games, which is meant for 1 to 5 players. The objective of the game is to essentially travel through national parks, collecting photos, exploring, and meeting endgame objectives with a final victory condition of outscoring your fellow hikers.
Mm-hmm. So one of the positives that I really like about the game is the art style. So even the box on the outside and the inside is really artistic, really high quality. The manual is thick paper, and it's very, very nice to read. It's got a Q&A in there, so if you have some common questions that you're not really sure about, that's a really helpful thing in there. The cards are really nicely done, the board is really artistic, just everything looks really nice and feels really nice to play.
Great. Yeah, and I think the things that I kind of like about it too are that the cards, as you mentioned, are very pretty. They're very well illustrated. They provide a nice bit of information about each of the national parks in the United States, like the date that it was established, maybe a little bit of a tidbit about the park, and it kind of gives a nice kind of look and feel to the game.
Yeah.
In addition to that, there are also other things that I enjoy about the look and feel. So, for example, there are tokens that represent different kind of like a wild card, for example, which are each individually created, and they're wooden, so it's better than kind of your plastic kind of pieces.
Yeah,
and I find that kind of gives it a nice replayability because of the quality of all of the pieces.
Yeah, so even though the tokens all mean the same thing, it's just a wild resource, basically. They're all different shapes. They're made of wood, really high quality. Even the resources are made of wood. Yeah. So you have 4 different resources in the wild, and they're all really high quality, made of wood.
Even your characters are made of wood as well, which is kind of nice.
Yeah, it's really nice. And as Patrick was saying, all the photos, you can take photos throughout the game, and they're all different photos on the tiles. They're all worth 1 point, so it says it on there. And they're all uniquely made. So that's really nice about that. This is my favorite part, is the storage containers. So it's really easy to set up and play. You just literally open up the container and you play it right from there. Other board games give you little bags to store everything in. So I like this. Really sets Parks apart because it actually comes with this container to just put back in the box when you're done playing. So I really liked that.
That's a really good addition to the game. I think you also like the kind of the inside of the box and how it's...
Oh, yeah, that's right. The inside of the box also stores away really nicely. So there's a place for all the little cards and everything. Even the first player token in there stores nicely. I'm pretty OCD about that stuff. Patrick can attest to that. So I really, really love that about the game. It's super easy to put everything away, and it even shows you on the side there where everything goes in the box.
Yeah.
So
it's kind of a nice, nice look and feel for the game.
It's just like thought out, like really well thought out by the game makers.
Yeah. So I think the game itself.
Gameplay, maybe?
Yeah. So the game itself is that it's very easy going. The flow is pretty straightforward. You're just hiking a path. You're taking photos. You're looking at collecting mountains to meet certain objectives, and so the game is really not that stressful of a game. Also, because it's very pretty to look at, you can kind of enjoy when you're playing and not focusing just on your strategy. I feel that how the game mechanic works as well is that if somebody finishes the trail before you, you don't necessarily have to finish right away. The game is not done. There are some restrictions to that, which, if you ever want to see how to play, let us know in the comments and we can get through that. But essentially, it allows you to kind of take your time to finish, so you're not as rushed, pushing to the next season or the next round, as it were. You can kind of enjoy it and, kind of pretend as if you were in the parks.
So as for gameplay, for me, what I really like is there's these different trails that you go through, and you shuffle these and put them out. So every time it's different. It's not the same game every time. They even add one for a 4-player game, so it adds a little bit extra to the trail. So I like that there's a lot of strategy involved. Like you have these canteen cards you can collect, which give you like tiles or stuff, gives you different abilities that you can get. And then there's also gear that you can get, which gives you a bit of an advantage to the game. So there's a little bit of strategy involved. I really like strategy when it comes to games. I'm pretty competitive. So if there's something that you are trying to achieve in the game, maybe there's a gear card for it that helps you out in a sense. So so that's really nice for me for the gameplay.
There's also, I think, it's kind of a nice feature is that there are a lot of games that have solo play but are not necessarily well thought out. And this solo play seems to be a bit more entertaining from at least a perspective of exploring the parks and seeing those kind of things. And I kind of like that, although I'm not really someone who plays solo playthroughs, but it does happen occasionally.
It's always nice to have the option of a solo game.
Especially if she's not around and I'm kind of bored. Yeah. There's also...
on the back, I noticed that when you buy this game, a donation is made to National Park Service. So I really like that. That's a big positive for me. Yeah. They don't have to do that, but the fact that they do, I mean, that sets it apart too. Like, there's a lot of things that set this game apart from other board games out there. So.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
No, just like any game that's out there, there's positives and negatives, and there are some negatives. The first negative is sort of the camera. At least to me. Now, I'm never the best player at the strategy and all that kind of thing, and she can attest to that. But one thing with the camera is it kind of gives you a lot more points if you have it. You can take more pictures throughout your trail. You get pictures at the end of the trail. And so I find that it's a bit underrated in some sense. Like, you don't really think about it till you start playing the game. And so the person with the camera will tend to get a lot more points. So I think ultimately a lot of it just battles for the camera because you'll get lots of points for that.
Yeah.
So that kind of creates, I think, maybe that's meant to be like a bit of a dynamic for that, to kind of give you some pictures and things. But if you don't get it or fight for it, then you tend to lose a lot of points.
To me, that's actually a positive. I really like the camera because it's strategic. So there's this path that allows you to take the camera or take photos. So usually you have to spend 2 of the resources to take a photo. If you have the camera token, it only costs you 1. And then at the back, it says that at the end of the round, you can take a photo if you have this camera for 1 resource, and photos give you 1 point.
Right.
So it is a good way to be strategic. So I like it personally, but sometimes it's a little annoying that there's only 1 path. Oh, sorry about that.
Yeah, but
there's only 1 path to allow you to take that camera.
Right. Now, one point that you didn't mention is when if you don't have the camera, you take 2 resources and you grab the camera. So it's not like you can just take pictures all willy-nilly with 2 resources.
Need to land on it.
You have to take the camera away from somebody.
Yeah.
And so that's where it becomes this sort of battle for that. Because if it was just, I had to pay 2 resources to take a picture, you have the camera, you have 1 resource, that dynamic would change a bit because anybody could take pictures at that point.
Yeah.
But that's where it gets a bit complicated in my opinion. But again, I'm not the most strategic person, so maybe I'm just bad. If you have good suggestions on how to use the camera that she did not mention or I did not mention, please put it in the comments below. I'd love to hear it. And maybe I'm just wonky. Or maybe I'm right. Who knows? Maybe rare, but maybe I am.
So the biggest negative that I find is you get these personal bonus cards. So you're dealt out 2 of these at random. You get to pick 1. And then at the end of the round, you can get 2 or 3 points. You have to work really hard to get the 3 points. So as you can see, some of these cards, you have to visit 8 parks with mountains. 8 parks is a lot of parks to visit, and you actually forego some of the better parks. So, for example, this one, it doesn't have any mountains on it, it's worth 4 points. Well, this one's worth 2 points, but it's got a mountain. So, I mean, you're kind of giving up a lot of points in order to get that 3 points.
Yeah.
It's not very powerful. Like, some of these cards are just not worth it. So, I find that I don't really focus on these cards a lot. I wish that there was a little more incentive to go for these bonuses. That's the biggest negative for me, just because I am strategic like that.
And I think sometimes she's being me, like, where I've focused on trying to get those bonus points, and then I just lose because, she had the camera or something else, right?
Yeah, and it's only 3 points. Most of the time we get 2 points because it's easier to get that. But so that's the biggest negative for me.
Yeah, the other one, it's minor negative. It's not really a big deal, and this might be in the works. If you hear about it, please let me know in the comments below. Is that the parks are focused on American parks, which makes sense. It's an American company, and they use an art style that's great from this other American company, and it makes sense. But it would be nice to see parks from Canada, where we're from, or maybe Europe, or anywhere else in the world for that matter, because then it'll kind of give you that little bit of educational sense that's just outside of the American sphere, and that would be kind of cool. But
we would love to see an expansion of this game that adds that.
And so if you hear something about that in the works, let us know.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
So I think that's pretty much it. I mean, all in all, I think I would probably rate this game 4 out of 5, just because, the negatives are pretty easy to just brush aside. The gameplay is really fun, and it's really easy. And it only takes about 40, maybe 50 minutes to play. It says 40 to 70 minutes, but I'm assuming that's with more players.
We've played it pretty quick. Like, we played it in 20.
Yeah,
when
so
it's just us two.
It's not a long game, easy to learn, easy to teach other people. And if you don't know how to learn, I mean, this beautiful manual will tell you how. So.
Or you can request us to do a how to play, and we'll film that one for you. For me, I'd probably just give it a 4 out of 5 as well. I mean, it's a little hard because while the game is easy to play and all that kind of stuff, I think it's really worth that rating. But I'm not sure if I can compare this game necessarily to bigger, more complex games. So I would say this kind of game, sure, 4 out of 5. But that rating may be subjective to other games, just to put that out there. Yeah. But in general, I think 4 out of 5 for this kind of game. It's good. I recommend it for everybody who wants to play it. I went over the Christmas holidays, we played it pretty religiously. Yeah. No pun intended there, but so yeah. Anyway, that's about it. I think
that's it. Yeah. So let us know what you think of the video. Comment down below, letting us know if you want us to do a how to play or a playthrough of this game. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of our content.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks.